Mr. Sumner, we have 1 minute. We have 1 minute.
Madam President, would it be possible for the government senators to close the floor?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
President,
Good morning.
senators.
Yes.
12 o'clock here in St. George.
Yes, we're ready.
Senators, Madam President.
Good morning, senators. And good morning to the listening public. The Senate is in session. Shall we pray? Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness has appointed the office of rulers and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of men and women, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have called to the performance of important trusts in these islands. Father, let your blessing descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of these islands and of those whose interest you have committed to our charge. And this we beg in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all evermore. Amen. Item number 2 on the orders of the day is the confirmation of the minutes of the 26th of May, 2021. Senator Michelle Simmons, Vice President, you have the floor.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday, the 26th of May, 2021, be taken as read.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection.
Madam President, I move that the minutes of Wednesday, the 26th of May, 2021, be confirmed.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection. The minutes of the 26th of May, 2021 are confirmed. Thank you, Senator Michelle Simmons. Item number 3, messages.
No messages, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Sumner. Item number 4, reports of committees. There are none. Item number 5, announcements. We have several announcements. The first are in the name of Senator A.J.L. Hudson, Junior Minister of Finance. You have the floor.
Good morning, Madam President.
Good morning, Senator Hudson. You have the floor.
Thank you. Madam President, I hereby present for the information of Senate the following reports. The annual report of the Bermuda Monetary Authority for the year ended 31st December 2020, the annual report of the Bermuda Public Accountability Board for the year ended 31st March 2020, and the financial statements of the Bermuda Public Accountability Board as at 31st of March 2020. Senators can access copies of the reports on their tablets and or the parliamentary website.
Thank you. And I believe you have an additional one? Yeah.
Yes, I do. Thank you,
You
Madam
can carry
President.
on.
Madam President, I hereby present for the information of Senate Bermuda's Economic Recovery Plan Summary Report as produced by the Ministry of Finance. A copy of this report may also be accessed on senators' tablets and on the parliamentary website. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Hudson, Junior Minister of Finance. The next announcement is in the name of the Junior Minister of Home Affairs, Senator Simmons.
Thank you, Madam President. The electricity license threshold temporary amendment regulations 2021 and the fisheries fish pot amendment regulations 2021. Madam President, I hereby present for the information of Senate the following regulations. the Electricity License Threshold Temporary Amendment Regulations 2021 as made by the Minister responsible for energy under the provision of Section 5 of the Regulatory Authority Act 2011 and Section 54 of the Electricity Act 2016, and the Fisheries Fish Part Amendment Regulations 2021 made by the Minister responsible for environment under the provisions of Section 13 of the Fisheries Act 1972. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Lindsay Simmons, Junior Minister of Home Affairs. The next set of announcements is in the name of Senator C.P. Richardson, the Junior Minister of National Security. Senator Richardson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I hereby present for the information of Senate the annual report of the Parole Board for the year ended 31st of December 2020 and the annual report of the Treatment of Offenders Board for the year ended 31st of December 2020. Senators may access copies of the reports on their tablets and or the Parliament website. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Richardson, Junior Minister of National Security. Item number 6 on our orders of the day is notices of motion, and there is notices of motion, a notice of motion, the Bermuda Plan. That's in the name of Senator Lindsay Simmons, Junior Minister of Home Affairs. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I hereby present for the consideration of the Senate the Bermuda Plan 2018. Together with related documents can be accessed on the Department of Planning website, which is required to be approved by a resolution of the Senate per Section 11(8) of the Development and Planning Act 1974. And I give notice at a later point in the meeting. I will move the following motions. That the Senate, in accordance with the provisions of Section 10 and 11 of the Development and Planning Act 1974, approves the Bermuda Plan 2018. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Lindsay Simmons. Item number 7, petitions. There are none. Item number 8, statements. We have one statement. That's a teacher certification bonded loan, and that's in the name of Senator O.K. Darrell, the Junior Minister of Education. Senator, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, Senate colleagues. This morning I rise before my honorable colleagues to share a new initiative that the ministry is putting in place to support Bermudians pursuing a career in the teaching profession to become a qualified educator. Madam President, I may be a bit biased, but I feel that there is no more noble profession than that of a teacher. Teaching is the only profession that teaches all other professions. As we continue on our path to education reform, reform must involve everything from the upgrade of facilities, provision for professional development of our educators, and revised system governance. This government has committed to providing our children with a system that will allow them to realize their true potential. Madam President, the government has always stated that financial means should not be a barrier to achieving one's educational goals. Since 2017, this government has committed to ensuring that as much funding as possible has been provided for students pursuing higher education. From the $300,000 annual grant to the Bermuda College that has helped almost 1,000 students to date, to how we have managed to maintain the 2021 scholarships and awards budget at the same 2020 levels. Even in this COVID era of forced austerity, we have made funding for Bermudians who seek to better themselves a priority. Today, I am pleased to inform my colleagues of yet another program that's designed to help Bermudians realize their educational dreams. In September 2021, the Ministry of Education will offer for the first time a teacher's certification bonded loan. The purpose of this loan is to provide financial support to Bermudian residents who are enrolled in an approved and accredited distance learning teacher certification program. Another one of the many steps in the right direction is to ensure opportunities exist for Bermudians to follow their dreams of becoming a qualified teacher. Madam President, let me first share that as per the Bermuda Educators Council, the BEC Act 2022, a person is a qualified educator if they hold a university degree or an equivalent qualification granted by an institution recognized by the council, and they have successfully completed a course of initial training for teachers in schools at an institution recognized by the council. In support of ensuring the public school system has qualified educators, Madam President, a key outcome of Plan 2022, Priority 3, enhancing the quality of teaching practice, is that 90% of teachers are certified in their assigned field. We are diligently working towards achieving that outcome. Madam President, as a backdrop, every year the public school system experiences shortage for various reasons of qualified teachers for specific subject areas. Some of the traditional difficult to fill teaching positions are in the subject areas of music, drama, physical education, mathematics, English, and foreign languages. To help fill these positions, a BEC exemption committee legislated under the Bermuda Educators Council Act 22 provides recommendations to the Minister of Education for persons to be exempted from teaching these subjects at schools. However, they do not hold the prerequisite teaching qualifications as stipulated in the Bermuda Educators Council Act. Madam President, while exemptions are provided to persons to teach in the education system, we must genuinely have qualified educators. Therefore, persons who receive an exemption to teach in our schools must commit to pursuing a teaching certification within a specific time for the exemption status to continue. As a result, we have persons who have been granted exemptions to teach in the system who are simultaneously pursuing their teaching certification. Madam President, currently there are 2 university teaching certification programs that persons who live on the island commonly enroll in to undertake their teaching certification through distance learning. The Bermuda College, in agreement with the University of the West Indies, provides a teaching certification program, TCP, in mathematics, English language, information technology, science, modern languages, history and social studies, geography education. The UK Sunderland University also offers a teaching certification distance learning program in various subjects specializations, where persons apply directly to the university for enrollment. The teaching certification program, TCP, broadly comprises undertaking subject-focused coursework leading towards a degree specialization and participating in a 12-week teaching practicum assessed for successful passing. The teaching practicum, as I understand, refers to persons teaching children subject matter content in the classroom and demonstrating classroom leadership and management. This results in persons achieving a teaching certification and recognized as a qualified educator. Madam President, the 12-week teaching practicum is considered for a period of study, not employment, that parallels that of an overseas student who undertakes a teaching practicum program. Therefore, during this period, exempted status persons are not paid. This has become financially challenging for persons enrolled in the teaching certification program who have to also uphold their household financial responsibilities while adhering to the teaching certification program's deadline. Consequently, we have seen promising potential teachers opt to pursue employment elsewhere rather than finish their teaching certification. This year alone has seen 4 students, 3 of whom are male, in the University of West Indies program postpone their pursuit of teaching certification due to this financial barrier. Madam President, I have personally seen promising teachers opt to postpone or give up on pursuing their qualification due to the inability to navigate this 12-week practicum with no income. To address this issue, last summer, the Board of Education were asked to create a new pathway to help enhance the recruitment and development of new teachers. In response, they developed a teacher certification bonded loan career development policy that supports the Bermudianization of teachers in the education system by providing limited financial assistance for career transferring professionals to become certified teachers. While this policy was initially developed to assist persons with exempting teaching status, let me be clear that this policy also covers anyone currently in the public school system interested in pursuing a teacher's certification. Madam President, the loss of salary while completing a 12-week teaching practicum has become a roadblock for persons who have decided to change professions or pursue a career in teaching. By affording a bonded loan to cover living expenses during these 12 weeks, persons will be able to focus on their teaching practicum experience and complete their teaching certification without significant financial impediment. Madam President, the teacher certification bonded loan is valued at up to $4,800 per month for 3 months. Applicants will be required to work for the Bermuda public school system for a minimum of 3 years, during which the loan will be paid back through regular deductions from their salary. Applicants will be provided upfront with the various options available for borrowing and repaying the loan to make an informed decision about how much they can reasonably afford to borrow. Madam President, the bonded loan application process requires the applicant to be Bermudian, to reside locally, to be 25 years or older, already involved in an approved and accredited long-distance teaching certification program. They must be pursuing an area of study needed in the public education system, agree to work in the public school system for a minimum of 3 years upon receiving their certification, and they must also be able to effect a bond signed by 2 sureties. The teacher's certification bonded loan offering will come into effect in September of 2021, this year. And guidelines for applying for the bonded loan and application form will be accessed on the government's website, forms.gov.bn. Madam President, in closing, I'd like to emphasize that this initiative is to support our Bermudians who are committed to the education of our children and are pursuing a career in the teaching profession. Therefore, we encourage those currently exempted to teach in the public school system and anyone else in the public school system seeking a teacher certification who may need financial support during their 12-week practicum to take advantage of this initiative. We look forward to continuing efforts to support the Bermudianization of teachers in the education system and ensuring that all teachers are qualified educators. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Darrell, Junior Minister of Education. Item number 9 on our orders of the day, introduction of bills, there are none. Item number 10, the first reading of public bills, there are none. Item number 11, first reading of private bills, there are none. Item number 12, question and question periods. Senators, the floor is now open for any senator who wishes to ask questions on the statement that has just been given by Senator Darrell on the teacher's certification bonded loan. Would any senator? Senator Robin Tucker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you again to...
Hold on, Madam President, sorry, I can't hear you, Senator. Can you just speak louder or turn your mic up?
Okay.
Senator Tucker?
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Is that
Can you come closer to the mic or bring the mic closer to yourself?
You know what it is?
Is this a bit better, Madam President?
I can hear you, but the concern is that some of the other senators cannot hear you. Can you speak again louder and closer to the mic?
Is this a bit better? Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam President, I do have a couple of questions, but I just wanted to know if it's okay with you if I just read the relevant section that I'm going to connect my question to. Is that okay?
Yes, if that will be beneficial for Senator Darrell.
Okay. Thank you, Madam President. So my question is in connection with the portion of the statement that says, in support of ensuring the public school system has qualified educators, a key plan a key outcome rather in Plan 2022 as it relates to priority number 3.
What page are you referring to?
Page number 2.
Thank you. And your question?
Enhancing the quality of teaching practice is that 90% of teachers are certified in their assigned field. And then the statement went on to say that they're diligently working toward achieving that outcome. So my question is, considering priority number 3 is to develop the quality teaching practice, and the end goal is to have 90% of teachers certified in their assigned field, I'd like to know what percentage of teachers are not currently certified in their assigned field.
And your second, you can carry on with your questions.
Thank you, Madam President. So my next question is whether receipt of a loan guarantee, does receipt of a loan guarantee a teaching job in the Bermuda public school system? And I asked that question again from the statement. It mentions that applicants will be required to work for the public school system for a minimum of 3 years. So I'm just wondering whether receipt of the loan guarantees employment in the Bermuda public system. And my final question is, with education reform discussions and plans underway, what would be an example of the areas of study that would be needed in the public school system that is currently in short supply of qualified teachers?
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Darrell, did you want to respond at this time?
I can take a stab at some of these answers. Now, you would know that I was an educator for 15 years. So I've actually seen this happen. And in my statement, I actually made mention, I'm going to start with the answer for question 3. In my statement, I did make mention to the traditional subjects that have always been in short supply. I know one particular high school, almost the entire math department is not Bermudian. They are excellent teachers, don't get me wrong, but they are not Bermudian. So I provided statements such as language, math, information technology, shockingly, physical education, and these subjects for years, I mean, almost all of the years that I was a teacher, were always subscribed by Bermudian educators. So I don't think that moving into the new system will unfortunately change that much. So we'll start there. On question number 2, it says, does it guarantee a job? Part of the statement did speak to that this loan guarantee will only be given for subjects that are in demand. So I would connect the dots there that if the person successfully does their 12-week practicum, they pass, and then they go through the application process, I would think that there will be a job readily available. I've been made to understand that the job that I left 4 years ago still has not been filled because there is not a qualified Bermudian to fill it. So I hope that goes some way to answering your questions. And for question number 1, I will ask the department to get me an updated number on the percentage of teachers that are currently teaching who are not qualified. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Darrell. Senator Michelle Simmons, I see you indicating you have questions. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Senator Darrell, thank you very much for your statement. And I will just start by saying we certainly need more certified Bermudian teachers in the public school system. My first question is about the age of applicants for this certified bonded loan. You said in the statement that persons should be 25 years or older. You also said that a commitment of 3 years is expected post-qualification. My concern is that you may find people who have reached the more senior level and choose to consider applying for this, doing so. But I would imagine to protect government, it might be in order to consider having an upper age limit instead of just leaving it open for 25 or older. Could that be considered? That's my question. My second question was the same as one that Senator Tucker asked, and that is, what is the percentage of currently employed teachers who are not certified in their subject areas? I think that's a very important question because it will give us an idea of the extent of this concern. I'm not going to call it a problem. And finally, you mentioned in the statement, Senator Darrell, that the principals or the Department of Education sometimes has to write in and request exemptions for persons who may have, let me say, university degrees, but are not certified teachers. I recall having to write in on a couple of occasions myself. Is there a time limit for those exemptions? Meaning, for how long can any one teacher be exempted? And is that applied across the board? Or does it vary depending on the circumstance of the school at which the teacher is employed, or indeed the circumstances of the teacher? So the question is, what is the maximum time for exemption, and is that applied uniformly? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Michelle Simmons. Senator Darrell, to you.
Yes, Madam President, I'm just waiting on the answer. I think it's coming now. This wasn't asked, but I'll share it, that we currently have 11 exempted teachers for this year in the subjects of foreign language, music, PE, as well as English as a second language. As I mentioned to Senator Tucker, I will look to get the percentage of teachers who are not have a full teacher's certification. And for the other questions, we will consider an upper age limit. Right now, as you know, teachers retire at 65. So right now, that would be the upper limit. But I think your action is to consider capping it at a different age. The exemption status, I'm sure you would know, Senator, from a different place, is very loose at the moment. It needs to be tightened up. I think Cedar Bridge Academy, sorry, not Cedar Bridge Academy, the Bermuda Union of Teachers collective bargaining agreement currently says that it should be 3 years. But in different circumstances, as you have alluded to, there may be principals and others who write in seeking a further exemption for exceptional circumstances. But yes, that process of finding a time limit can and will be tightened up going forward. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Darrell and Senator Michelle Simmons. Would any other senator care to ask questions on this statement?
Yes, Madam President, I would like to ask a question.
Senator Ben Smith? You have, who is it? Sorry.
That's okay.
Senator Marcus Jones, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And to my fellow senators and to the listening audience. First of all, thank you to the Junior Minister for his presentation this morning. I do have a question that I asked a few sessions ago that's also been alluded to in this particular brief here. On page 1, the statement is made that $300,000 has been an annual grant to the Bermuda College that has helped almost 1,000 students to date. Can the Junior Minister please inform this Senate of the numbers of the number of students, of those 1,000 students that have actually completed their courses at the Bermuda College and have actually graduated? I believe in a time that when we have limited funds from out of the public purse, we need to be result oriented and know how much progress and how much success we're getting out of the monies that we're investing in our next generation. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Jones. Senator Darrell, this is not exactly what you stated in your statement, but do you have an answer for Senator Jones?
I'd like to answer one of the other questions, just go back about exemptions. Been made to understand that exemptions are issued now on a strict provision, and candidates must show that they are progressing towards certification. And then after that, we will move to cutting them off at 3 years. So I just wanted to try to tidy up that point about exemptions. Senator Jones, I thought that I answered this question before about the graduation rate of the students that have gotten a grant. Although we are focusing today on the teacher certification bonded loan, I will get that question for you. Thank you. The answer for that question.
Thank you, Senator Darrell. Would any other senator care to ask questions on the statement that was delivered this morning?
Yes, Madam President.
Senator Ben Smith, got you right this time. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to the Junior Minister for providing the statement this morning. I just have a couple of quick questions. One is that the part of it was in the statement talking about the shortage of teachers, and it was followed up in one of the Junior Minister's answers regarding non-Bermudian teachers that have been hired across multiple subjects. If we have a situation where there is an ongoing shortage, is that stating that there needed to be potentially more teachers hired from outside the country, and we haven't done that because we're waiting for Bermudians to be certified? I just want to have clarification that we don't have a shortage which could potentially impact students because we haven't hired teachers that are certified from outside of the country. So that would be my first question. My second question is on this 12-week period that the applicant will be putting forward and getting a loan for. I don't want to be negative, but what happens if at the end of this 12-week period that person is not successful? And you know, because part of this loan is based off of having a job at the end of it, right? So the positive side is that we would then have this teacher working in the system, which would then also allow them to pay back the loan. So if they have taken on a loan and at the end of it they're not successful, what is that situation going to do for this person that now doesn't have the job to pay back that loan? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Smith.
Madam President, to answer the first question, as I have two lovely children in the public education system, I can guarantee you that we are not waiting for, unfortunately, Bermudians to be qualified. Every year, there's extensive recruitment for qualified educators to come in and teach our children. For all sorts of reasons, we may not be able to get, the teachers that we want in a timely fashion, which is why we're trying to make other opportunities available for Bermudians. But to answer your second question, you would have read or listened to the second part of my statement. It says that they have to sign 2 sureties before they get this loan to say that they can, pay this loan back. And I'm sure that that clause will be triggered if they are unsuccessful in the 12-week program, or in the event that they decide to leave the 12-week program before completion. So that's why the sureties are very much important. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Darrow. Would any other senator? Yes, Senator Ben Smith, you have a follow-up question?
Yes, Madam President. Just the reason I'm asking that question is because if you take into account that this person is having a hard time being able to do the course because they don't have the money for it, to put them in a situation where now they would have debt at the end of this. I understand that they're applying to surety. I understand all of that part, but it just seems that potentially we are setting up people for further debt. So I just want to make sure that there is some other way that, like, what will be the process for that person to be able to pay that back? I just don't want to see somebody go through this process and end up on the hook and not be able to pay it back, which then puts them in a further hole. And it potentially will have some people not want to take on this process. But that's the only reason I'm asking the question.
Senator Darrow?
Madam President, I think it was also mentioned in the statement that the point of putting forward this teacher certification bonded loan is to assist Bermudian in becoming better educators. I'm pretty sure that the extensive application process will look to weed out some of those problems which you are raising. I'm not going to get into the Ministry of Education giving financial advice, but we are here to try to do what's best for our students in the Bermuda public school system. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Darrow. Senator Robin Tucker, you have a supplementary question?
Yes, Madam President. Thank you. My supplementary is in relation to Senator Simmons's question about the exemptions. I would just, the junior minister mentioned that there are currently 11 exemptions. I just, for my own clarification, just wanted to know, is that the total number of persons that have received exemptions, or is that just what is currently in place? Thank you, Madam President.
Madam President, current exemptions stand at 11.
Thank you, Senator Darrow. Does any other senator have any additional questions? If not, I want to thank senators and for the questions, and thank Senator Darrow for responding to those questions. We will now move on then to the item number 13 on our orders of the day. And the orders of the day, the first is the second reading of the Fire Safety Amendment Act 2021, and that's in the name of Senator C.P. Richardson, the Junior Minister for National Security. Senator Richardson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the bill entitled Fire Safety Amendment Act 2021 be now read a second time.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection. Carry on, Senator Richardson.
Madam President, the bill before the Senate is the Fire Safety Amendment Act 2021. Madam President, the bill seeks to amend the Fire Safety Act 2014, the Principal Act, to establish the Chief Fire Officer as the authority having jurisdiction, the AHJ, in relation to the interpretation, application, modification, and enforcement of the National Fire Protection Association codes under the Act. Madam President, the Senate will be aware that the Principal Act provides for the adoption of the NFPA codes as the standard for fire safety and protection for all buildings and premises in Bermuda. Although it has been commonly accepted that the CFO is the authority on decisions regarding the application of the NFPA codes, this is not enshrined in the legislation. Madam President, as a result of the proposed amendments, the CFO may issue written directions as to compliance and written guidance regarding their interpretation, application, or modification of the NFPA codes and revise any guidance so issued. Additionally, the AHJ, the CFO, shall carry out such consultation as he considers appropriate before issuing or revising any guidance or directions. Madam President, the proposed amendments will ensure that the CFO is empowered to give direction on the application and interpretation of the NFPA codes. Where discrepancies or misunderstandings may arise, thereby ensuring that the fire safety and protection in Bermuda is consistent and proficient. Madam President, with these introductory remarks, I am pleased to commend the bill entitled Fire Safety Amendment Act 2021 to the Senate for senior members to discuss. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Richardson. Would any senator care to speak on this bill?
Yes, Madam President.
Yes, Senator Ben Smith, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam President, I'd just like to say that the opposition has no issue with this bill and we support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Smith. Would any other senator care to speak on this bill? Senator John White, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no issues with this amendment. The only question I had really was why is it being retroactively applied to January 1st, 2018? I was just wondering what the significance of retroactification was for this bill.
Thank you, Senator White. Senator Richardson?
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Madam President. I'll endeavor to receive a response to that question.
Thank you. Would any other senator care to speak on this bill? Senator Richardson, are you expecting a response shortly?
Madam President, if I can endeavor to get that answer, if I get it before the end of the session, I will do my best to do that. I'm certainly reaching out now.
Thank you. Would any other senator care to speak on this bill? Hearing none, then Senator Richardson, you can do the second reading. There you go.
Madam President, I move that Rule 26 be suspended in respect of this bill.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection.
Madam President, I move that the bill entitled
Sorry, you didn't do, sorry, you need, I'm sorry. Senator Richardson, do the second reading again. I'm so sorry.
Are you asking me to?
Just move the second reading again, sorry.
Okay. Madam President, I move that the bill entitled Fire Safety Amendment Act 2021 be now read a third time.
Second time. Is there any objection to the second reading? No objection. Carry on.
Madam President, I move that Rule 26 be suspended in respect of this bill.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection.
Madam President, I move that the bill entitled Fire Safety Amendment Act 2021 be now read a third time.
Is there any objection to the third reading? No objection.
Madam President, I move that the bill do now pass.
It has been moved that the bill entitled the Fire Safety Amendment Act 2021 do now pass. Is there any objection to that motion? Hearing none, the bill is passed. Thank you, Senator Curtis Richardson. We now move on to the second order of the day, and that is the Public Service Superannuation Temporary Amendment Act 2021, and that is in the name of Senator Ariana Hudson, the Junior Minister of Finance. You have the floor.
I read it first. Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the bill entitled the Public Service Superannuation Temporary Amendment Act 2021 be now read a second time.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, the government wishes this honorable House to now give consideration to the bill entitled the Public Service Superannuation Temporary Amendment Act 2021. Madam President, 2020 was a very challenging year for countries around the world. The unexpected onset of the pandemic and the fallout from that has had a devastating impact on people and on economies. Bermuda, like other countries globally, has had to deal with serious health and economic challenges. A number of critical actions were taken to protect and preserve life and then to provide economic support for the people of Bermuda. Government revenues dropped significantly and the unexpected expenditures reached unprecedented levels. Government therefore stepped up and took prudent and considered action to address the expected significant deficit. Madam President, we were fortunate that in this crisis, Bermudians and residents of Bermuda came together and worked together for the common good. Thus, government was able to negotiate with some of its union partners in the public sector and reach an agreement on a package of austerity measures aimed at reducing expenditure in the short term, while at the same time ensuring public service employees were not negatively impacted from a financial point of view. Madam President, the Bermuda Public Services Union, the Bermuda Industrial Union, and the Bermuda Union of Teachers all agreed a list of measures which included a reduction of 10% to all salaries and wages for 1 year or until July 31st, 2021, 31st of August 2021 for the teachers and principals. A suspension of public service superannuation fund contributions by the employee and the government for 1 year or until July 31st, 2021. Madam President, on July 17, 2020, the legislature passed the Public Service Superannuation Temporary Amendment Act 2020, the temporary PSSA. The purpose of the temporary PSSA was to provide for a 1 year temporary suspension of the government's contributions to the Public Service Superannuation Fund, and an optional 1 year temporary suspension of a contributor's contributions to the PSSF. Madam President, the temporary PSSA has a predefined suspension period, with the suspension period defining specific dates of when contributions can be suspended from the PSSF. The PSSA defined the suspension period as August 1st, 2020 to July 31st, 2021, or for persons that fall within the category of teacher, September 1st, 2020 to August 31st, 2021. Madam President, the suspension period was initially instituted with the expectation that all government unions would reach agreement on the suspending of PSSF contributions at the same time. However, the negotiation process has been more extended with some of the unions. As a result, the government employees in those unions will complete their 12-month suspension period after the predefined end date of the suspension period of the Act. The groups of employees that have not started as yet are still a work in progress, but the date on which an agreement is made is still to be determined. Madam President, to avoid having to make multiple amendments to the temporary PSSA to allow for different suspension periods each time the government negotiates with the remainder of its partner unions, the Act will be amended to allow for modification of the suspension periods by order, subject to the negative resolution procedure, and that such orders may be made with retrospective effect. Madam President, I want to make it clear that the decision to suspend contributions to the PSSF was not taken lightly, and as noted previously, came on the back of a pandemic that had a negative impact on the global economy, with the government experiencing a major decline in its tax revenue and at the same time needing to increase its expenditure in order to safeguard the health of Bermuda and its residents. The agreement to suspend contributions helped the government to avoid mass layoffs or forced early retirement within the public service and helped to save taxpayers millions of dollars. Madam President, in closing, I wish to take this opportunity once again to thank our union partners and by extension our dedicated public service officers for their active engagement and willingness to work with us in the best interest of Bermuda. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Hudson. Would any senator care to speak on this bill?
Yes, Madam President.
Senator, sorry, you have the floor.
Yes, the opposition has no objections. We support this bill.
Thank you, Senator Marcus Jones. Would any other senator care to speak on this bill? No, then it seems you have full support. Senator Ariana Hudson, you have the floor. You do the second reading.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the bill entitled the Public Service Superannuation Temporary Amendment Act 2021 be now read a second time.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that Rule 26 be suspended in respect of this bill.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the bill entitled the Public Service Superannuation Temporary Amendment Act 2021 be now read a third time.
Is there any objection to the third reading? No objection.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the bill do now pass.
It has been moved that the bill entitled the Public Service Superannuation Temporary Amendment Act 2021 do now pass. Is there any objection to that motion? No objection. The bill is passed. Thank you, Senator Hudson. We will now move on to item 3 of the orders of the day, and that is the second reading of the Contributory Pensions Temporary Amendment Act 2021, and that is also in the name of Senator Hudson, the Junior Minister of Finance, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the bill entitled the Contributory Pension Temporary Amendment Act 2021 be now read a second time.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, the government wishes this Honorable House to now give consideration to the bill entitled the Contributory Pension Temporary Amendment Act 2021. Madam President, as previously noted, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a major impact on countries and their residents around the globe. Bermuda, like other countries, has had to deal with serious health and economic challenges. The Bermuda government, therefore, had to take prompt and decisive actions to protect the health of its residents and to provide support to navigate the significant challenges. Madam President, the government also developed and implemented an unemployment benefit, allowed for persons to withdraw funds from their pensions, and progressed other initiatives to provide residents with additional income. Businesses were also given consideration and actions were also taken to help them navigate the challenging waters. One key initiative which was progressed to provide benefits to both businesses and individuals related to social insurance payments. Thus, on June 19, 2020, the legislature passed the Contributory Pension Temporary Amendment Act 2020. The purpose of the temporary CPA was to provide for a 1-year temporary suspension of contributions to the Contributory Pension Fund with the aim of providing assistance to businesses, employees, and the government due to the negative economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on the Bermuda economy. Madam President, on the back of the passing of the temporary CPA, the government negotiated with some of its union partners and reached an agreement on a package of measures aimed at reducing expenditure in the short term. The Bermuda Public Services Union, the Bermuda Industrial Union, and the Bermuda Union of Teachers agreed to a list of measures which included a suspension of contributory pension fund contributions by the employee and the government in respect of a defined suspension period. Madam President, the temporary CPA has a specified suspension period, with the suspension period defining specific dates and contributions can be suspended from the CPF. In particular, the temporary CPA defines a suspension period as July 1st, 2020 through June 30, 2021. Madam President, it was originally anticipated that all government unions will come to an agreement on the suspending of CPF contributions at the same time. However, the negotiations were concluded at different time periods, and for some groups of employees, negotiations are still ongoing. As a result, the government employees and some unions will complete their 12-month suspension period after the predefined end date of the suspension period of the temporary CPA. Madam President, to avoid having to make multiple amendments of the temporary CPA to be able to appropriately reflect these extended time periods, The temporary CPA will be amended to allow for modification of the suspension periods by order, subject to the negative resolution procedure, and that such orders may be made with retrospective effect. Madam President, the Contributory Pension Fund has served the citizens of Bermuda well during the 50 years that it has been in existence by providing an important base retirement income. Government has been consistent in taking steps to encourage contributions to maximize future income streams. However, given the unprecedented tragedy of the COVID-19 pandemic, as noted earlier, government has responded with creativity and decisiveness to offer relief to those negatively impacted by this global disaster. The deferment in CPF contributions has helped keep people employed, businesses afloat, and helped the government to prudently control expenditure. Madam President, in closing, I wish to take this opportunity to thank our union partners, our business partners, our health workers, our essential workers, and all of the public for their support during this pandemic period. It is with their strength and backing that the government will help Bermuda come out of the pandemic stronger than before it went in. Madam President, for the sake of completeness, I would also like to expand on an answer made by the Minister of Finance in another place, in which he was asked about different periods under the temporary CPA. Teachers should also be included as a group that will have a different suspension period. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Hudson. Would any senator care to speak on this bill?
Yes, I would, Madam President.
Senator Jones, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. We, the opposition, realizing the challenges that the government had as far as the need to retroactively cause this bill to be effective and successfully fulfill its mandate, we on this side of the aisle do support this bill.
Thank you, Senator Marcus Jones. Would any other senator care to speak on this bill? Hearing none, Senator Hudson, you have full support. You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the bill entitled the Contributory Pension Temporary Amendment Act 2021 be now read a second time.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that Rule 26 be suspended in respect of this bill.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the bill entitled the Contributory Pension Temporary Amendment Act 2021 be now read a third time.
Is there any objection to the third reading? No objection.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the bill do now pass.
It has been moved that the bill entitled the Contributory Pensions Temporary Amendment Act 2021 do now pass. Is there any objection to that motion? No objection. The bill is passed. Thank you, Senator Ariana Hudson.
Thank you, Madam President.
We are now moving on to the fourth and last item on our orders of the day, and that is the consideration of the following motion, subject to the suspension of Standing Order 71, that the Senate, in accordance with the provision of Section 10 and 11 of the Development and Planning Act 1974, approves the Bermuda Plan 2018. And this bill is this motion is in the name of Senator, the Junior Minister for Home Affairs, and that is Senator Lindsay Simmons. You have the floor. To move the motion. Senator Simmons, Lindsay Simmons.
I'm sorry, Madam President. I move that the Standing Order 71-2 be suspended so that the Senate may now take under consideration a resolution approving the Bermuda Plan 2018.
Is there any objection to that motion? No objection. Carry on.
Madam President, I move that the Senate do now take under consideration the following motion. That the Senate, in accordance with the provisions of Section 10 and 11 of the Development and Planning Act 1974, approves the Bermuda Plan 2018. Madam President, I move that in accordance with Section 10 and 11 of the Development and Planning Act 1974, the Senate consider and approve the Bermuda Plan 2018. The Bermuda Plan 2018, the plan, is a development plan prepared by the Department of Planning to guide development for the island for many years to come. The plan, which covers the entire island with the exception of the city of Hamilton, comprises a policy document and zoning maps and a tribunal report that can be accessed online directly from the department's website, www.planning.gov.bm. Madam President, the overarching aim of the plan is to effectively manage Bermuda's natural and built environment, resources, and development, and to help build a healthy, sustainable communities. In support of this aim, the plan is based on 3 strategies: a development strategy, a conservation strategy, and a community strategy. Madam President, within the framework of these strategies, the plan sets out 5 key goals. Number 1, to conserve open space and protect the island's natural and built heritage. Number 2, to provide sufficient development potentials to meet the community's needs. Number 3, to facilitate community improvements in neighborhoods to create better, healthier, and safer places to live and visit. Number 4, to encourage a more efficient and sustainable use and development of land and buildings. And 5, to ensure a high quality of design and accessibility in all new developments. Madam President, honorable Senate members, you may recall that the Bermuda Plan 2018 was first released as a draft plan and was subject of a 3.5-month public consultation period, which resulted in a total of 457 objections and a counter objections being reviewed. Madam President, following the withdrawal of 50 objections, 232 objections remained, 147, 63% of which were zoning related. The most common zoning objections involved landowners wanting to remove agricultural reserve and woodland reserve conservation areas from their property. This has been a common theme with the objection to the previous draft Bermuda plans and reflects landowners wanting a greater development potential for their properties. Madam President, in the department's processing of the 232 valid objections, I am pleased to note that 52% of them were resolved between the Department of Planning technical officers and the objector. This left the remaining of 48% of objections in an unresolved status to be heard by the tribunal. Madam President, following the conclusion of the tribunal inquiries in December 2020, recommendations were made and submitted to the minister responsible for Home Affairs in the form of the draft Bermuda Plan 2018 tribunal report. Following the completion of his review, this report was finalized to reflect the resolutions of each objection and representation. Madam President, the Bermuda Plan 2018 planning statement and digital zoning maps reflect the final resolutions for the amendments to the draft Bermuda Plan 2018. As a result of these amendments, the final Bermuda Plan 2018 reflects a rezoning of some 25 acres of conservation zone land to develop zone land from the draft plan. Madam President, the most significant zoning change involves such areas as the St. Regis property in St. George's, where some 20 acres of land was rezoned to tourism to align with the development approvals granted by the St. George's Resort Act 2018. This land under the draft Bermuda Plan 2018 was zoned a combination of both conservation zoning as well as a developmental zoning. Other significant zoning amendments included the Morgan's Point property, which resulted in an expansion of the special study area zoning to align with the property boundaries as well as a loss of coastal reserve conservation zoning, and the BLDC lands at Southside, which include the rezoning of just over 20 acres of industrial zone land to mixed use. Madam President, the tribunal provided additional remarks for the minister responsible for Home Affairs consideration. Of the particular note, the tribunal recommendation that a new coastal study for Bermuda should be undertaken. It was specifically noted that there is continuing development pressure upon coastal areas. As such, the impacts of climate change upon Bermuda's shores must be comprehensively assessed to determine the continued viability to develop along the coastlines. Madam President, the tribunal recommendation to conduct a new coastal study for Bermuda is wholly supported. Such a study will be in alignment with the government's commitment to the Bermuda's Ocean Prosperity Program and preparation of a marine spatial plan. In addition to highlight the risk of climate change in order to assist this government to determine two solutions to mitigate the risk. Madam President, it is appreciated that a balance must be struck between securing the coastline whilst enabling development to continue with a pragmatic way. Commissioning a coastal study will provide an updated coastal vulnerability assessment for the island and detailed review for the coastal reserve conservation zone, which will enable the updating of coastal protection and development policies. Madam President, the importance of the Bermuda Plan 2018 cannot be understated. There is a recognized need to provide flexibility within the policy to provide the necessary mechanisms to support development and new investments. This, of course, should not be a deterrent of our natural environment. The work of the department involves assessing these interests and becoming increasingly challenging in today's rapidly changing environment. Madam President, in this vein, the department continues its work to streamline the planning process. Following the approval and adoption of the final Bermuda Plan 2018, plan-making efforts will focus on preparing local communities' plans for individual areas of the island. It is recognized that although the island is such a limited landmass, each community has a set of unique circumstances and thereby requires more tailored policies to better serve the needs of the residents in their respective community. One such example involves a local plan for North East Hamilton, details of which will be released soon. Madam President, in addition to plan making, the department is working diligently on other projects, including legislative changes to ensure services and programs are meeting the needs of our dynamic environment and society. Madam President, in efforts to adapt to the increasing impacts of climate change, the review of the Bermuda Building Code will be incorporated for sustainably building practice utilizing the latest advances in renewable technology. Bermuda's Code requirements and building methods are widely recognized for its resilience, and our aim is to continue and build upon the stellar reputation. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Lindsey Simmons, Junior Minister for Home Affairs. Would any senator care to speak on this plan? Senator Robin Tucker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you to the Junior Minister for her statement. The Bermuda Plan 2018 seeks to protect our island home by regulating land development and its use in Bermuda. And it's certainly evident by the sheer volume of work and its thoughtful content that much time and effort went into developing this 2018 plan. So as I go forward, I just want to give kudos to the Minister of Home Affairs, the Honorable Walter Raban, and his entire team for their efforts as the value of this undertaking. And certainly as such an important project and its impact for all of Bermuda should not be and cannot be understated. The Bermuda Plan governs approximately 13,000 acres of land that we have in Bermuda. And approximately 47% of that is residential. Parks, reserves, and recreational areas represented about 33%, and about 2% is zoned for tourism. The purpose and contents of the plan is key to helping manage and maintain our infrastructure and society as a whole. The contents of this plan impacts every person in Bermuda individually as well as collectively. In the few moments that I have, I want to highlight a few key areas that I was drawn to in the review of the plan document. The first is climate change and coastal erosion. I think all of us can recognize or have recognized the impact that climate change, global warming, and so on has had on the globe. And certainly Bermuda will be significantly impacted by what's happening in the climate change science arena. Bermuda coastal areas will be significantly impacted by climate change, and this plan to expanding in this area is certainly, very exciting and a welcomed notation that I observed in the plan. The encouragement of local food production was another. Shifting focus from primarily relying on importing our food to promoting local food production is one area that I believe is absolutely key to our long-term sustainability. Therefore, it's imperative that we secure and develop available agricultural land and continue to encourage growing as much of our own food as possible. And as we all know, we have already begun this process, particularly with the creation of community gardens and other forms of food production, for example, hydroponics, aqua farming, and etc. Another area that I thought that particularly stood out to me was building healthy communities. So being able to integrate health and planning agendas to underscore and support plans for goals and a policy framework for community plans to be prepared for local neighborhoods. Again, this is very representative of sounding very representative of the Bermuda that I grew up in terms of having that close community contact. Because again, having that close community contact creates the village, which helps to keep our communities healthy. So as part of building a healthy community as well, the community strategy encourages the return to the simple but very important things, such as getting people outside of the house and being able again to enjoy the public parks and the playgrounds. And as I mentioned, the improved local food production, landmarks, promoting our heritage and the tourism product, all things that are very key to, maintaining our communities and our infrastructure. So such things give rise, as I said, to the village that helped all of us and continues to help all of us within the communities as well. It would be very nice, and it was mentioned in the plan to some degree, but just want to highlight one thing that I thought is really good as well. It would be very nice to see further creation of additional walking paths, such as has been created at Bailey's Bay Corner and in Flats, because these areas have proven to be very popular with people of all walks of life, and of course it helps as additional ways to keep residents healthy, a healthy body, a healthy mind, healthy community, right? So another area has to do with transportation and accessibility and increasing the walkability of the land areas. So many of our walking areas don't have sidewalks adequate for the use of the physically challenged and our elderly populations. So it was also very good to see the mention of being able to create areas identified in these particular areas to support persons that are physically challenged and our seniors, to keep everyone safe. So the creation of a pedestrian family network with a view to integrating and connecting parish neighborhoods and encouraging walking and other forms of exercise is, as I mentioned already, a vital component to helping to create sound and healthy communities. Recreational and open spaces. The plan seeks to incorporate new green spaces, recreational areas, and parks. Growing up in Bermuda, there were a lot more green spaces. And it's a good thing that this plan acknowledges the need for balancing land development with ensuring that the island does not turn into a concrete jungle. When I'm coming back to Bermuda, when I've been traveling and I'm returning, I often look out the window and I recall how much greenery and trees used to be in areas that I'm seeing a whole lot of white roofs. So I'm very encouraged by the fact that there are plans afoot to ensure that there are some green spaces that are going to be wonderfully protected. So that's a very good thing. We must have places where we can all enjoy nature, free space, and good outdoors. And as I said, it's all necessary for all of us and creating healthy communities. So overall, Madam President, the Bermuda Plan 2018, I believe, is a great guide for maintaining Bermuda's infrastructure and helping to build healthy communities. I look forward to hearing of the further steps to be taken to bring about the changes and recommendations that have been outlined in it. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Robin Tucker. Would any other senator care to speak on this bill or on this plan? Oh. Am I here? Yes, Senator Jones, sorry, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I was purposely hesitating because I thought that my colleagues on the government side will be beating the drum to this very well written, well put together report. But be it as it may, Madam President, I will come to the plate and contribute to this particular motion. As I said earlier, I really was impressed with this report. 229 pages, Madam President. You can imagine that with this long report, very comprehensive report, I really wanted to give it the time and attention. And it's a very good document. It's forward-looking. It considers more than just the physical layout of land in Bermuda and how it's zoned and how it will be used, but also I was very pleased to see the social aspect of it, the healthy communities component of this plan. I found very intriguing. So, in short and in summary, Madam President, in my opening remarks, I just wanted to commend the minister, the substantive minister, and his team for putting this particular report together. Now, we understand that this particular report comes under the remit of the Development and Planning Act of 1974 and requires that the legislature approve of this plan within 18 months of its publication. One thing I took note of, the construct and the contributors on the planning board consisted of different agencies such as the Historic Buildings Advisory Committee. It also consists of the Environmental Board, the St. George's, the Corporation of St. George's, a number of bodies that can give advice and knowledge to the board when making their decisions. But I was curious and was wondering why an organization such as the Bermuda National Trust, which is responsible for 277 acres, 82 properties around the island, and responsible for a number of traditional historic houses, for islands, for gardens, and the like, was not a part of the official list of advisors to the planning board, and also the Corporation of Hamilton also was not a recognized contributor to this planning team. So I was just curious if the Junior Minister could give us some insight on why those two very important bodies aren't officially a part of that board. I also took note that this ever progressive and evolving plan has to be tabled every 5 years. So I would say from its inception in 1974, this particular plan, its improvements, its changes had to be updated and presented to the legislature every 5 years. But I was wondering, in the event that tweaks and adjustments had to be made to the plan in between those 5 years, and there was an urgency required to get a plan in place for a stretch of land or buildings that had to be developed, what would be the recourse? How would the government, how would that particular ministry deal with it? For example, we've just now been made to know that the education ministry will be actually closing 9 primary schools. So we know that the buildings and their land will have to be given another purpose. In addition to that, I would say it's 5 or 6 middle schools that's going to be closed as well. So I would like to think that despite the fact that a plan does not have to be put in place until 5 years from this point, that there will still be work done to ensure that we have plans in place for those schools and properties that's going to be closed, that we can see be utilized. Now, we know that these schools are right in the middle of neighborhoods and many of them are the hub of the community. And we'd really like to see them profitably utilized. Now, one of the things that I was thinking of when I was considering and reading this particular plan was the need to expand our business centers. In other words, do not necessarily focus only on the city of Hamilton as the number one hub. We know it's the number one hub, but it doesn't have to be the only hub. So there is opportunity, possibly, potentially, with these schools in each parish that are closing, that we could possibly make them into business centers. We can have community gardens in their fields. Because one thing that we need to consider that in the event of a natural disaster, if Bermuda cannot bring food and import food into the country, we definitely need to have sufficient agricultural space that's dedicated to producing more food for the country in the event that we cannot, in fact, import food if the problem does exist. Madam President, I also took note of the government's attempts to conserve energy and to use more renewable energy. On page 104, I noted that the government had set a target of reducing electricity consumption to 20% below the 2008 levels by 2020, by the year 2020. I would have a question for the junior minister as it relates to this particular point. Has the government been able to achieve that target of 20% below the 2008 levels? And what is the target for the future? I think that's very good. I mean, hats off to the government who are looking to bring electric buses into the country. That'll go a long way in reducing fossil fuels, and that's a good thing. One of the things that this plan also took note was refuse collection areas. That's places where garbage is stored. Now, all of us as Bermudians know, and sometimes are irritated when our fellow neighbors, they put trash out too early. They may take it out 2 nights before the trash is supposed to be picked up. Or we see some neighbors who have areas where trash is stored, where it goes into their yard and everyone just piles on the trash into that area. I think it would be a good thing if the government was able to have designated areas in neighborhoods that are specific for garbage collection, so that all the neighbors in that area would know and not take advantage and not misuse people's property by just throwing trash just anywhere. It also could be a way of reducing the route that the trash truck has to take. In other words, in my neighborhood, Cooks Hill, we've got about 20 or 30 different spots that the trash truck has to stop and pick up trash. Now, if the government's waste program would designate, as opposed to 30 spots, have 15 spots that's designated, that's not going to cause major issues in neighbors' yards, private property, that could probably streamline the whole system and have a reduced number of stops for the trash trucks. In other words, have a far more defined and organized places for people to put their trash that will not be an eyesore. So that came to mind when I was looking at what the government has in place for places to put their trash. Now, further along on the report, it talks about tourism. And my question would be, and this consideration came up, was with the emergence of Airbnb properties in Bermuda, is there a clear distinction between traditional tourist accommodations and this Airbnb product? Is the necessary work being done to ensure that sufficient apartments have not been taken out of the permanent residence pool into the tourist accommodation category, reducing the inventory? In other words, in this Bermuda plan, is the government looking at the inventory of private residences like studio apartments and one-bedroom apartments? We know that over the last couple of years, more and more residents are switching the use of their apartments from permanent residency into tourist accommodation. So we need to make sure that we have plans in place so that we don't flood the market of tourist accommodations and ensure that there's sufficient permanent residence accommodations for our citizens. So I was wondering if that was a consideration as well. Moving on to the planning for the city of Hamilton. One thing I've noticed is that it seems to me, even before the pandemic, that there was more people riding their bicycles, their pedal bikes into the city. But there isn't sufficient places around the city for actually storing and parking these pedal bikes. So from time to time, you'll see a pedal bike chained to a pole on the sidewalk. So pedestrians that are trying to walk along the city have to dodge and weave around pedal bikes that have been kept on the pole. So my question would be, and consideration, I would love to see consideration made if there was more parking bays for pedal bikes. Even these Twizzlers, these smaller cars that, for example, our tourists drive in, you know, I see them taking up, these small little Twizzlers are taking up space of the regular average size cars. And you know, you just think to yourself, it would be good if these particular tourist type cars had a designated places around the city and wouldn't clog up the normal parking bays. So that's just one or two things that came to mind. But I was really intrigued, really excited about the healthy communities component of this particular plan. And I think that's something that we can definitely expand on and improve the quality of life for our citizens that live on the island. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Marcus Jones. Senator White, John White, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. So I'll go into a bit less detail than Senator Jones, but at a high level, I just want to say that I was very impressed with the preparation of the report. I thought it was very well thought out. I thought the process of seeking feedback was the appropriate one over a long period of time. I would say that the parts of the plan that strike me the most important are really the conservation areas, and I think, especially during the last 16 months of the pandemic, it's been one of the silver linings for me has been to be meeting many more people who might otherwise have not met, but in spending more times in parks and playgrounds around Bermuda due to limited travel outside of Bermuda. So I think the effort in conserving our parks and playgrounds and all the elements that have been addressed in this report are critically important to the future welfare of Bermuda. It's going to strengthen communities. So I was very impressed. I give full marks to the people who prepared the report and the process in which it was conducted. So those are my high-level comments, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator White. Would any other senator care to speak on this motion? Senator Ben Smith, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. So, Madam President, I would like to echo the remarks that have been made so far for the support of this plan. As I was reading through it, I started to think back on the changes that have happened that I remember from my childhood to this point. And it also reminded me of some conversations that I had with my father before he passed, where someone that was born in 1918, where my father was, had a completely different understanding of what Bermuda was like in that time period to what my childhood was like. So he was able to give stories where he would talk about, because he grew up in the Spanish Point area, he was able to go fishing off the rocks. But his experience of going fishing off the rocks was completely different than my experience of going fishing off the rocks. I was lucky if I was going to catch squirrel fish, where he was able to catch fish that at this point would be rare for us to find, and if it was found, it would be extremely expensive. He was also able to just be able to go in the shallow water and get lobsters, and was able to have shrimps and scallops and other shellfish that just doesn't exist for us at this point. So when I think back that was the experience of a Bermuda, that's why it's important for us to have a plan of what we're doing as we go forward, because we have to understand that we have an impact on our environment. So then when I look at my childhood, remembering growing up on the South Shore, seeing crabs all over the roads. There were times in the summertime where you'd find crabs hanging on your screens, right? Because there were so many crabs all over the island. Well, I'm going to say that there's a lot of children that have never seen one in the generation that you have now. Well, when you were driving, you would have a good chance of running over some crabs on the road if you weren't hitting a toad on the road. But if you look on our roads now, no crabs, and very rarely do you see a toad. Well, those are changes that have happened because of our impact on our environment. And it's important that we realize that that is part of our environment and what that change means for us. Because when we make decisions on what we're building, where we're building it, how we're building it, it will have an impact on our neighbors, it will have impact on our community, and it is having an impact on our environment. So there are some things that have happened in the last few years, or within the last 10 years even, buildings that have happened in the city of Hamilton where decisions were made that we're going to make a specific building. But we didn't look at the impact that that was going to have on other buildings, or have on our water, or have on our sewage system. That when you look at this plan, that's what we have to be able to do. We have to look at the entire process and what the impact will be. Just to highlight some of the things that we've seen, the changes in our environment that happen internationally, but also locally. There's flooding that happens on an ongoing basis in Bermuda, because in some cases we've cut off the natural way for the water to flow. And because we've done that, now that water has to go somewhere. So if you look at the Mills Creek area, which for the people that live in that area, for the people that work in that area, they have seen significant times where that water is covering all of the road, which for some people, the only impact for them is it's frustrating because you can't go where you wanted to go, but you have to understand what impact that is having on our environment. Because there are times that when the water is flooding, it's picking up chemicals and toxins that it's not supposed to be putting into our water table, that is putting in areas where it shouldn't be. So that's why having a plan and having decisions put in place on why we do things and how we do things in a way that protects our people and our environment is extremely important. But also moving forward with the environmental impacts that have happened, when as a Bermudian who's been here my entire life, I believe that we have seen a higher increase in the activity of hurricane season. Not just how frequent we have hurricanes that actually come to Bermuda, but the intensity of them. Those storms are significantly stronger, and that has an impact on what we are doing as a community, how we protect ourselves, how we build our houses, and what that will look like, not just now, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We need to be making sure that we're planning for what that looks like. Most people driving in Bermuda will have also seen some changes that have happened where just the environment with wind and rain you see erosion of rock faces where we built close to roads, we built close to the shoreline, and you've started to see what that impact is. Along Harbor Road, those roads, the walls have started to cave in.